From here, we're about to set out on one of the longest overland journeys in the world. From Moscow, the capital of Russia, to Peking, the capital of China. We're going by train, and we shall cross the Ural Mountains and southern Siberia, skirt Lake Baikal, cross Mongolia and the desert of Gobi, and then travel through northern China to Peking. Yaroslavsky railway station, Moscow, and our train is nearly ready to leave. We're going to travel on a Chinese train all the way. Only the dining car is Russian. It's being loaded, ready for the long journey. A tractor brings the linen for our sleeping bunks. We're off. As we begin to move, a steam engine pulls away from the next platform. Our own train has an electric locomotive, and we're setting off along the longest electrified railway system in the world, from Moscow to Irkutsk in Siberia. On this section there are double tracks, and we pass several goods trains from the industrial centers of Siberia. And now we're going to spend 7 days in the train, and we shall cover no less than 5,000 miles before we reach Peking. To live for such a long period on a train is like making an ocean voyage. We spend our time reading, writing, playing cards, and just looking. Instead of the sea, we look out on towns, villages, farms, landscapes of all kinds passing by. On the afternoon of the second day, we pass through the Ural Mountains. And we are now in Siberia. The station of Sverdlovsk, the first industrial town in Siberia. The meals on the train are a welcome break from the monotony of the journey. We enjoy caviar and champagne, but caviar is not such a luxury in Russia because it's a local product, and so is the champagne. It's autumn, and the further we go towards the center of the continent, the colder it becomes. The first snowstorm has powdered the landscape. Every day we move our watches 1 hour ahead. Each day is only 23 hours long as we're traveling east. This is the station of one of Siberia's remote, small towns. The most striking impression of the journey through Siberia is the many new industrial centers, with harbors along the rivers, docks and cranes. There are towns like Omsk and Novosibirsk with factories and steelworks, and all this suggests a great development in the future in this enormous area. Big blocks of flats cluster around the factories. The railway station of Novosibirsk. The towns here are like oases in the desert, with long distances between them. And between the industrial towns, we pass the huge timber districts. And we often make stops at old wooden railway stations where the passing of the weekly express is the only exciting happening. Photographs of the local workers' heroes are displayed at the station. We continue through the timber districts towards Irkutsk. During the rule of Stalin, this was the location for the dreaded concentration camps for political prisoners. We reach Lake Baikal, the deepest lake in the world. 6,000 feet at the deepest place. 300 rivers empty themselves into the lake, but there's only one outlet. We have a few hours break here, and we spend the time on a cruise on the lake in a hydrofoil boat. The train moves on again. At first, we follow the shore of the lake. Soon, we shall turn southwards towards China. Until now, we've been traveling along the Trans Siberian Railway, from Moscow, through the Ural Mountains, across Siberia to Lake Baikal. The Trans Siberian continues eastwards, skirting Manchuria, and then turning south to Vladivostok on the Pacific, with a branch to Sovietskaya. But we are branching off south, towards Mongolia and China. The autumn colors are becoming more marked now, and the first snow has fallen on the mountains bordering on Mongolia. On the 5th day, we enter Mongolia, and the vegetation is sparse. It's difficult to realize that centuries ago, this tiny nation, now numbering just over 1 million inhabitants, led by the warlord Genghis Khan, ruled over the greatest empire known to history, an empire stretching from China to Central Europe. Early the next morning, we approach the capital of Mongolia, Ulan Bator, where more than half the nation's population lives. It's a colorful scene at the station when the train arrives. Most of the Mongolians still wear their traditional costume, which hasn't changed much since the days of Genghis Khan. Mongolia acts as a buffer state between the two giants, Russia and China. The traffic over the border is strictly controlled. The security police check to see that no stowaways hide themselves on the roof of the train. They also look under the seats of the compartments. Mongolia is an independent socialist republic, but to some extent, it's dominated by Russia. Industrialization has started and tends to interfere with the free, nomadic life of the Mongolians. A few years ago, there were only camels and horses in Mongolia. Now, lorries and tractors from Russia are replacing them in increasing numbers. After a couple of hours stop here, we move on again, drawn by a steam locomotive. The electrified system ended at Irkutsk. We're heading south through the plains of Mongolia towards China, and we see a little of the old Mongolian way of life. Herds of wild horses, the tents of the nomads, and the vast, flat plain. And often we pass railway guards with their horses. At regular intervals, we come upon the administration centers, set up to organize the nomad collectives out on the prairies. Occasionally, we stop at one of these. But despite the attempts to organize them, it'll probably take many years before the last followers of Genghis Khan's wild riders leave the life on horseback and become industrial workers. Now we've got a Mongolian dining car on the train, and all we have to eat is mutton, 3 times a day, with mare's milk to drink and nothing else. Again, a railway guard on horseback, and occasionally a lone rider on a camel. In southern Mongolia, we enter the barren desert, the Gobi. On the morning of the 7th day, we arrive at the station on the Chinese border. We are here, on the frontier between Mongolia and northern China. Russian railways have a wide gauge of 5 feet 6 inches. And here the wide gauge Russian undercarriage is changed for a Chinese one, which has the same gauge as the railways of Europe. This takes a couple of hours. We are not allowed out of our compartments. The locomotive that pulled us across Mongolia is uncoupled. We're ready to move off. Drawn by another locomotive, we enter China. We pass through the mountains near Kalgan. The landscape is characteristic of northern China. About 50 miles north of the capital city of Peking, we cross the Great Wall of China, one of the wonders of the world. It was constructed 2,200 years ago as a defensive barrier to keep the Mongolian hordes at bay, but they captured it several times. The wall stretches for 1,500 miles through rugged country. It took 1,000 years and vast armies of slaves to complete it. This particular part of the wall is a favorite picnic spot for the inhabitants of Peking, who come out here in great numbers on Sundays. A traffic jam at one of the watchtowers. As we move off again, we see the wall looking like the back of a huge dragon, sprawling up and down across the mountain range. Here is a workers' brigade going up into the mountains. Much of the country is mountainous, but China needs to farm every inch of its fertile land if it is to produce enough food for the millions of inhabitants. Wherever possible, terraces are being built to permit cultivation even on the mountain slopes. Soon we come down to the plains and the rice paddies. All farm production in China is now done collectively. No one may own the land they farm anymore. On the northern outskirts of Peking, the train passes factories. Then we come to the old gates of the city. After a 7 days journey, covering 5,000 miles, we arrive at Peking Central Railway Station, just about on time. Here we are in Peking at last, the capital of the country with the largest population in the world. This modern station was built as recently as 1959. Railways are important to China because the road system is not well developed. Outside the station lies China, home of 750 million people. We have crossed Asia in a train. We have seen many contrasting landscapes, including mountains and deserts. We have seen something of Siberia, the landlocked land of Mongolia, and we have had a glimpse of the vast land of China.